Hello guys, namaste, welcome back to my channel. This is Amisha Singh Chauhan, and if you're new here and you're looking for something fun, dark and mysterious, then you're at the right place. So do not forget to subscribe to my channel and hit that bell icon so that every time I'm here, you'll get to know about it. So today we're going to talk about the Blood Countess Elizabeth Bathory. If you don't know her, there is a very good chance that you might have read her name in the Guinness World Book of Records for being the most prolific serial killer in the entire world, where she is believed to have murdered 650 people. Most of them, actually 98% of them, were virgins. Now let's talk about this case. Well, I don't use the word fascinating, but this case of Elizabeth Bathory is really fascinating for me in a very positive manner. The reason is that I believe, this is my opinion, that this is the prime example of a case where we do not know, where we cannot determine where the facts end and when the fiction begins. Now, before I start talking about what is fiction and what is fact in Elizabeth's case, let's talk about Elizabeth for a second. So, Elizabeth Bathory is said to be a hedonist lust serial killer, and she was born in 1560 or 1561, somewhere over there. She was born in a very powerful, politically very powerful family. She was super rich. She was a nobility. She was from an aristocratic family, and her cousins were kings and rulers of various countries like Transylvania and Poland. She's also believed to have remote relations with Vlad the Impaler Dracula. Yes, I'm talking about the Dracula. Though the relations are very loose, but it is said that they did have some connections. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is that she is very powerful. She comes from a very strong family, and from a very young age, she was betrothed to a Hungarian count whose name is Ferenc Nadasti. They had 4 years of age difference, and they got married in their early teens. Now, some believe it was 13 while she was 13, and some believe that she got married when she was 15. Anyways, long story short, she got married quite early. Now, before she did that, she had an affair with a peasant boy. She eventually got pregnant with him, and when the family got to know about it, they did not take it well, obviously. So they butchered his body and fed his body to the wolves or dogs. And while some believe that the baby was boy, the other historians say that it was a girl. It doesn't matter. In the end of the day, they just gave the baby to a non-noble woman so as to take care of the baby, because the Bathory family really trusted this lady. Anyways, she gets married. In the first 10 years of her marriage, she did not conceive a child. Now, the reason people believe it happened was because Ferenc and Elizabeth, they were not really spending a lot of time together, though they were power couples. Now, power couples, why? Is because they were super crazy rich over there, richer than the king himself. And in fact, they gave loan to the king so as to fight the war against the Turks at the time. And he was a very fierce, well-decorated warrior, a very good soldier, and he was fighting off the Turks outside. And in the home, it was Elizabeth who was taking care of all the administrative logistics and everything over there. Side by side, it is believed that she was also running a hospital where she would take care of sick people from the nearby towns and villages, also of injured soldiers. And after 10 years, she did give birth to a baby girl. Eventually, they together have 4 children. Now, somewhere during this entire time, Elizabeth, while her husband was outside fighting wars, she was doing torture. She was inflicting torture on young virgin girls. Now, where did it start from? There are a lot of versions of this story. So the first version goes to her childhood. It is believed that from a very young age, she had this kind of a disease, epilepsy to be exact, where she would have seizures. And back in the days, it was medieval times, 16th century, medical science was not there. So there was this healer who would give this potion which was made of non-sufferer's blood. Non-sufferer as in someone who did not have epileptic episodes or seizures. So they would use this non-sufferer's blood along with a part of their skull, and they would make this potion, and she would be asked to, take it. The other treatment that she was going through was that she had to use the blood of the non-sufferer as a lip balm. So she would put it on her lips, and that is what the treatment is. Now, it is believed that from here she had all the roots of her sadistic torture that she was inflicting on her servants, on her virgin servants. The other version of the story also bases from her childhood. It is believed that she was conditioned in this way, that she was brought up in a very sadistic environment where she saw her cousins, her family members, her parents especially, inflict such kind of pain to their servants because they were low lives. And it is also believed that somewhere or the other, this kind of lifestyle well, she was also introduced with the help of her husband. Now there is this one incident. So when Ferenc was fighting war against the Turks, he got this Turk woman and he got her stark naked, then slit her entire body and covered her in some kind of sugary liquid, most probably honey, and then made her stand outside while all the ants and spiders and honeybees and all kind of insects got on her body, and eventually she died. So yes, this was kind of the environment people believe that she was brought up into, and it just bugged. It was kind of a spark and it just got out in a wildfire. Now the other version over here goes for, which is mostly accepted. It is well known that she was very beautiful and she was very proud about her skin and everything, and eventually when she started getting old, she was very insecure about her looks. Now there is this one particular scene and it has different versions, but I'm just going to tell you the common one, which kind of summarizes everything. So basically she was out there at her dressing table in front of a mirror, and she asked her maid, who was a virgin, very young girl, probably 15 or 16 years old. So she asked her to brush her hair, and she was quite known for her ill temper. So the maid, she was brushing her hair and accidentally she kind of pulled a couple of strands of hair and she was really hurt, injured. So obviously Elizabeth did not like that. So she took the brush from her hand, smashed it on her face, and it was so brutal that her nose actually broke and there was a lot of blood splattered. That blood also got on Elizabeth's face. So while she was taking off that blood, she realized some change on her face. She realized that she was looking prettier. Her face was looking wrinkle free. I don't know, maybe it was sun, maybe she was hallucinating. Whatever was the reason that she was seeing all these differences, it got her to a point that she realized and she got this idea that if she would bathe in virgin's blood, then she would be able to not only preserve her beauty, but also would be able to rejuvenate it. Now, again, this is not a fact. This is something that is believed, like it is a folklore, it's a legend. We don't know how real it is. So it is believed that from here, she started capturing these, innocent young maidens who were working in her castle. She would ask her servants to trap these peasant virgins, and the way she tortured them is very horrendous. I mean, all kind of torture is horrendous. It is believed that she would literally use her own hands to tear apart their mouth. Then she would bite off their breasts or some other of their body parts. Then she would use scissors or knives to peel off their skin, and a lot of times their bodies were found hooked to the ceiling. And also she had this obsession of putting needles between their nails and their skin. So yeah, that was how she tortured these virgin women, and then draw out all of this blood from their body and bathe in it. Now that is something which is very weird. We will get to this point again. So eventually it is believed that after her husband died, which was in 1604, which again has different versions. Some believe that he died in the war. Now some believe that he got some unknown disease and he was on the bed for 3 years and eventually he just succumbed to death. So all this long she was just targeting young virgin peasants. But after some time, somewhere around in 1607, she realized that the blood of these peasants was not enough to preserve and rejuvenate her beauty. So she started targeting young women from aristocratic family, from noble families, but that who were declining. So, they were noble, they had the bloodline, the good, strong bloodline, but they were not so powerful to go against her. At least that's what she believed then. But the idea over here is that we do not exactly know that why all of a sudden she had this change in her mood, that she started targeting noble women. But eventually they had like 25 women from these declining noble families who were sent off under her shelter. Now the parents over here, they believe that if they would do so, their daughters would get good education, they would be very etiquette and ladylike, and their status in the society would rise. But they had no idea what was going inside the castle. Now later on, when they realized that the communication between their daughters broke out, a lot of their bodies were found in and around the castle. There were no information as to where they were. So they started questioning Elizabeth and they started asking her where our daughter is, where my sister is, and all these things. And since they were nobility, so she could not just turn a blind eye to them. Initially, when the peasants were complaining about their daughters being missing, all the peasant girls' body were found in the village around the forest, nobody cared, because back in the days, killing your servants so as to punish them was not a criminal offense. I mean, they were not humans, right? So it was fine, but impolite. Like, people would be like, oh, that is not nice, that is not the etiquette you were born up to, whatever. Nobody thought that it was a crime. But when the noble girls started getting targeted, everyone was going crazy over here. Like, what is happening? Something's terribly wrong. She is a vampire. Now during this time, there was a new father appointed to the church in the village where her castle was situated. And while on his way to the church, he heard a lot of rumors regarding the vampire, the Countess vampire, the Dracula, who would suck off blood from peasant virgin girls and use that blood so as to preserve her beauty. And he kind of investigated in these things. He got certain evidences. He even wrote to his superiors of the church and even wrote to the king. Now, what happened is that in 1610, during the Christmas, it was holiday going on, and on 29th of December, Elizabeth Bathory is said to be torturing a young virgin servant, Dorissa, who apparently was caught stealing a pure. So it is believed that Dorissa's body was hooked to the ceiling and she was cutting her body and torturing, doing her normal. And that is when Prince Turzo, who was appointed by the king, he was a Palestine minister, I hope that I'm not pronouncing it wrong. So he was sent along with a couple of men so as to not only investigate but also to arrest Elizabeth. And it is believed that when he entered the castle, he saw these dead bodies of young girls everywhere. It was scattered around. And that is when he got to the basement of the castle, and there he found, now here again there are two versions. Some believe that he found her, as in Elizabeth, torturing Dorissa's body while it was hooked to the ceiling. And the other version goes that he saw her eating in front of Dorissa's body while her servants were torturing Dorissa. Now, whatever happened over here, she was immediately arrested. So were her servants. Now, within a couple of days, that is in early of January of 1611, a trial was set up where she was punished. She was given life imprisonment. Now, here, since she was a noble woman, she was not given death penalty. We will again talk about this in the later part. She was not given death penalty. She was walled up inside her own castle that was given to her as a wedding gift by her late husband. And what about the other servants? They were actually four servants who were said to be the main accomplices of the countess. The first two female servants, their fingers were chopped off and then they were thrown alive in the fire. The third servant is said to be a youthful man, and because of this reason he was decapitated and then his body was thrown in the fire alive. Now, the fourth servant, who was a female of an older age, she was charged, she was acquitted, but then there are no records of her during the trial. Now, while we are talking about servants, here I would like to mention Darvulia. I know a lot of places she is not really mentioned while we are talking about Elizabeth Bathory, but I really find it important to talk about her because she was apparently Elizabeth Bathory's assistant. Not only that, she was also said to be a forest witch or just a witch. Now, some believe that it was Darvulia who was trying to reason out Elizabeth from what she was doing. She was trying to make her understand that she was going insane and what she was doing was wrong. While others believe that it was Darvulia who introduced her to this sadistic lifestyle. Well, we don't know. While Darvulia plays a very important role in Elizabeth's life, some people also believe that they shared a homosexual relationship. Again, we don't have any proof of that. But any evident role she had in Elizabeth's life, it all just vanished just before the trial. As in, there is no mention of her during the trial. So people believe that she most probably died or she ran away because again, she was a fortune teller. So that is all. Now, here's where the entire folklore ends. Like, this is what the legend is. Now, let's talk about the things that really bothers me and really makes me questions about various credibilities of various pointers in this case. Now, for the starters, let's talk about the bloodbath. Now, I don't think so it is possible, like even biologically, scientifically, it's not possible to bathe in someone's blood because apparently after the blood is drawn out, eventually very rapidly in fact, the blood would transform from its liquid state to a very chalky and sticky form, kind of a chunk matter, and it would be very difficult, like next to impossible for someone to bathe in it. And I don't think so that it happened in fact. Now, the possibility is that when Prince Turzo, he arrived to arrest her, he found her drenched in the maid's, as in the servant's blood, and the entire scenario, it looked like that Elizabeth had just taken a bath in the blood because of the way she was covered in blood. Now, I feel that from this scenario, from this scene, people just created this folklore. They just exaggerated this fact. Another thing to be mentioned over here is that there were no mentions of bloodbath during the trial because there are documents present. There are letters from the Prince Turzo, also letters written by the father of the church, and nowhere was there any mention of bloodbath. The first time that it was widely mentioned and published in any book was in 1796, a book written by Michael Wagner, which is called Anthropological Philosophy. Now, in this book, it is mentioned about bloodbath and how she did it so as to preserve and rejuvenate her beauty. But again, there is no fact. The other thing is the number 650. It is a huge number. So if we talk about numbers in this case, it is believed that she was doing this torture for more than 30 to 35 years of period. Now, if she was doing this for 30-35 years and if she had 650 victims, so if we take out average, then roughly 20 people she was killing each year. And how is that possible that for so long nobody suspected, nobody thought of questioning her all this long? Like, she murdered so many people each year. I get it that initially she was just targeting peasants, but then a lot of people would have benefited from the downfall of Countess. I mean, she was so powerful. And how come all the complaints, they started rising only after her husband died? Now, why am I insinuating this point is that history all the time shows us how every time a woman who is powerful, again, I'm not saying a good powerful, but power has both positive and negative aspect. And if she really did murder 600 women or murder anyone, then obviously she was abusing her power. But back to the story, any woman who had power, who was standing sole, like all by herself, who was independent, she does get dragged into witchcraft and is said to be mating with Satans. Yes, that was the exact same line used by one of the witnesses who said that they saw her mating with Satan. I mean, yeah, that is something. So anyways, she was very powerful, she was rich, she had loans, and the king was indebted to her. Now, I believe that there is some fact attached to it. I'm not saying that Elizabeth Bathory is innocent, that she never murdered. What I'm saying here is that she indeed murdered people, not as many as 650. But anyways, my point over here is that she fell into a trap of a political conspiracy that was played against her by Prince Torzo. Now, you might ask, what is here to benefit for Prince Torzo? So some believe that Prince Torzo had an infatuation on Elizabeth Bathory, or maybe it was her wealth. Anyways, he made a deal, he made a treaty with Elizabeth Bathory's family. So the thing is that if she would have been prosecuted or tried by the king, then she might have been given a death penalty for sure. And in that case, all her properties would have been confiscated by the king himself. And not only that, his loan would also be cancelled. In that way, nobody would have benefited from the Bathory's family, and they did not wanted that, obviously. So they made a treaty with Prince Torzo. And in that way, after her punishment, which was life imprisonment in her own castle where she was walled in, all her properties would be equally divided, and obviously Prince Torzo might have earned something from it. So, like I said, I'm repeating myself, I'm not saying that she is innocent. It is possible that the names which were found in the journal, which was again founded by one of her servants whose name is Suzanne, she said that she found these 650 names. It was a list. It is possible that this list could not be of the victims, but of all the patients that she was taking care of in her hospital. It is a possibility. Again, I'm not saying that it is a fact. What I'm trying to say is, from all of this video, summing it up, I would just state this fact that, like I said in the beginning, it is very difficult to determine what is fact and what is fiction. So, it is likely that she indeed murdered some people, but in the end, all of her doings, killings, which is, again, I'm not justifying it. Like I said, it was not criminal offense back then, but I definitely see it as a criminal offense. So anyways, she did murder people, but in the end, she just fell into a trap of a political conspiracy. This is my opinion. I would love to know yours. So tell me, do you believe that she bathed in blood? Do you believe that she was innocent, like she did not kill anyone? Or do you believe that no, she indeed killed 650 people and bathed in virgin's blood? Tell me your opinion. I would love to know all of them. So put down your opinions in the comment section, or you could directly message me on my Instagram. Here's my Instagram handle. You could also give me your suggestions for my next video. I would love to hear all of them. Also, if you found this video informative and entertaining to your like, then do hit the like button, share it to your friends, and subscribe if you haven't. And see you until next time. Bye bye. Take care.